Hello, my name is Lowell, and this is the first of a extended series of Hearts of Yokai, which is a PbtA game of modern urban fantasy that draws a lot of inspiration from Changing the Lost. Uh, it, my reading from that, one of the things is in talking with some people who played CTL before, I had a very different vision of what that game was than some other people and what they focused on and things like that. I have, over the course of several different PbtA iterations, changed the mechanical side of this. It's still a goddamn mess of a hack. So I'll just mention that. As I said, my name is Lowell. Pronouns he, him. This session is part of Open Hearth Gaming, which is an online gaming community. You can find out more about that at openhearthgaming.com. If you're watching this at the end of August 2024, at the beginning of September, we have a free open gaming weekend where we have over 3 dozen free open online one-shots on the calendar. I'm running and a bunch of other people are running, and there's still seats available in some sessions. Though they are filling up like they're filling quite faster than I thought they would. So that is a thing. Let me talk about the conceptual nature of this, and then we're going to talk about the actual sort of premise. This is a game about characters who've been taken away from the world, and in some cases they went willingly, some cases they were taken, some cases they were fooled. We have obviously Changing the Lost as one of the kinds of reference points for this, but I would also say for more recent things that Karen Gillan, The Magicians, are more contemporary things, but then anything that is about people being taken away to another world and come back changed, and not necessarily in a good way. Narnia, Peter Pan, isekai, these are all touchstones for what has happened to our characters. Our characters have been taken away by exploiters. In this, I'm calling them takers. They have taken people away across this sort of conceptual magical sea out to the outer realms that they live in, that these takers, essentially, they have come across these oceans that are the undertow, this span of magic that is beside the world. They've taken people there and they have set them to tasks. They've made these stolen people act out rituals, act out stories, be in their service, and use that to extract intangibles from them, to exploit them for their literally magical and emotional labor. And the different kinds of our people, our yokai, have different things that have been taken from them, or at least that's the primary kinds of things that have been taken from them. They managed to escape, whether they were let loose or escaped or fled or whatnot. They managed to make their way back to this world, and they have been changed by that experience. When they've come back to this world, time has passed, maybe a little, maybe a lot. The world feels differently to them, and they are physically changed. They have a different physical appearance that is covered by a guise. There is a face that they show the world, and then there is the persona, what they appear to be to each other. It is possible to harden your face so that the other yokai see that face, but most don't. But that is a thing to be aware of. There are other supernatural things in this world. So again, in this case, our touchstones become things like Dresden Files, and urban shadows and things like that. There are other supernatural creatures that are in this world, and they do not like yokai. They do not like yokai because they have been taken by dangerous, thieving, powerful colonial forces and dropped back into this world. And they can't trust you. They can't trust the yokai because they don't know. Are you agents of these thieves? Are you agents that are just here as a beachhead to come and take other things? As well, because our characters are yokai, use magics that echo, reflect, and kind of draw on the same sources as the takers, their magic actually takes things from other people. It takes things from other magical beings and creatures. And that's another reason why they're very leery of the yokai, is because their magic is inherently exploitative. It is the nature of these things. To our groups, our characters are a collection of yokai, and the term yokai is kind of a slang term that is used. Of course, it's taken from Japanese mythology. It's very broad to cover a whole bunch of different spirits and things like that, often objects and things that have acquired a history and become conscious. And that is often what that's called. But we're using the term yokai to refer to our characters here. Those groups have come, and some of them have created a compact to create rituals and protections against the takers, to protect, to keep the shallows of the undertow that is close to their location, close to their city, keep that relatively clear to make that passable, to make trades with other little places and things that are in those reefs and shoals, and deal with them. And to do that, they have set up a set of courts, and there's an organization that is there. Just as the takers have a respect for hierarchy and authority and things like that, the yokai structure mimics and mirrors that in a way to create these protections. It also means traveling outside of the city to another city is very dangerous. It means that you really trust face-to-face communications. You trust talking with people. You don't trust things that come online. You don't know who's behind those things. You don't know if that is somebody literally catfishing you, quite possibly. But we're going to build what those courts look like in our setting. Each of our players is going to come up with one of the 4 courts that we're working with. Just because you come up with a court doesn't mean that that's the court that your character necessarily needs to come from. Just want to keep that in mind. You are trying to figure out your lives. You're trying to pick up the pieces, like figure out what you want to do in terms of the real world and the yokai world. There are these magical things that are going on. There's weirdness going on. And of course, there's still the looming fear of the takers and their people hanging over it. So that's all kind of in the background as the threat that is happening here. And one of the things is that your experience in the realms was horrible. Even if your characters think now that it wasn't, that's a cover trying to put down what they remember. It may still be alluring and so on, but a lot of this reflects on denial and changing of memories and trying to find a way past what they did, what was done to them, all of those things. So that is the big scale concept. Our approach today is we're going to be doing creating those courts. We're going to be establishing some things about our city and our setting. And then we're going to be building characters, which is classic PbtA set of choices for that. Once we've got our characters done, we will be making some choices about entanglements. Everybody's going to have a romantic and a general entanglement, a la Hearts of Wulin. You're also going to choose a rival yokai. We're going to got a little checklist for that. And that's how we're going to build things up. And this is purely a session 0 today. We will get things in play and set up and on the table. So that's what we're going to be doing. The tone. I would say that definitely this echoes World of Darkness, but not grimdark, not truly despairing. We have entanglements, we have romance. This is a character-driven game about interacting with NPCs, figuring out your own place with them. Little plots and incidents occur. All of those things are kind of the tone. I do think, again, Urban Shadows, Dresden Files, probably it's a little sort of lighter end of the tone. However, with that, we have some content warnings. This is a game that deals with relationship, past trauma, PTSD, and a lot of gaslighting, potentially from the takers. That's a kind of a dangerous thing. When we do that, if we have that appearing on screen, that kind of gaslighting, we are going to call it out. We are going to say, this person is gaslighting you. And then you get to choose what your character reacts to. That's going to be one of our goals today, so that we don't fall into the any kind of trap on that kind of thing. Because I think it's more fun to be able to kind of choose how we're reacting to those things. As another game that I think actually is a great touchstone for kind of the sort of the street level gradients, I also say #iHunt, which is a Dynamite game, is another one that I point to. And then, of course, I've played with all of you before. We all know about safety. We have a lines and veils tab there, particularly the list is necessarily incomplete. If there's something you want to add to it, please do. Hard line being anything, just we're not going to deal with it. Don't want it as a topic. Veil being anything that, if it were to occur, it's handled obliquely or it's off screen. And then ask first being, if we're going to do that as a plot point, let's stop and check in beforehand. And go ahead and add to those as we go along here. And we'll check in when we do introductions. I'll go over what people have chosen for their lines, veils, and ask first. And again, feel free to add anything that you want to that. We also have a romance matrix for what you're comfortable in terms of romance with NPCs, with PCs, whether you want to ask first. That's all there. And our next tool, of course, is we are using the X card. X card, we can say X card. We can do the wrestling gesture if we need to. The X card is used to mark out content that is objectionable, that is problematic, that is wildly off tone. The only question we might ask when you X card something is exactly what we're hitting and where we need to roll back to. When you X card something, you are welcome to explain your decision. You're welcome to say why you're X carding it, but you are never required to. You do not have to defend your decision to invoke safety tools. Never have to do that. I just think that's really important. And then sort of the bottom line tool that we use, we've all played together before for quite a while. We have an open door policy, which means that if you have to step away for whatever reason, physical, emotional, whatever, you should do that. It'd be great if you could tell us you're going to be back, but you're not required to. Also means that if you're not feeling up to a session, you say, and you don't come. It also means that, although I don't think this is a thing, but I always say this just so people at home get this in their heads about what open door is. For us on the Open Hearth is, if you've signed up for a game and we get through session 0 or a later session, and you decide it's not for you, that game is not the game you want to play, there is no shame in saying, thank you, I don't think I'm coming back. And you don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to defend your choice. We've played together long enough that might be the kind of thing that would make us stop and talk about what we want to do next. But I think in general for short-term games and things like that, like we are all too old to play in RPGs that we do not want to be playing in. There are many things we could be doing, and we should only be doing the things that bring us joy in it. Because I've also lived long enough to have sat through campaigns that I did not want to be in, and I never want to do that again. So that is all of our stuff for safety. So that all of that is on the table. We're now going to move to talk about our courts. We have 4 courts. We are kind of, if you imagine, we've got the wheel of emotions that we saw in the Veil. Die also uses this for that wheel of emotions. We are using 4 spokes on that wheel. They represent 4 of our 6 characters' attributes, stats. And basically, we have one court that is associated with wrath, anger in some form. We have another court that's associated with dread, fear, anxiety. We have another court that's associated with grief, lamentation, and sadness. And a last court that is associated with exultation, joy, passion, all of those things. Those are the 4 cardinal points that we go with. And each one of those will have a symbol. If you imagine, the thing to do is to say, if this was a tarot card, how would we represent this on the card? We want a symbol that has that kind of visual pull to it that we could represent. And then for each of those courts, you're going to choose up to 3 traits that tell us something about what that court is like, and they may go counter to what our expectations might be in that. So I'll have you take a look at that for a second while I take a slug of this Werner's. This session is not sponsored by Werner's because most people hate it. I don't know why I like zero sugar Werner's. It tastes like weird off liquid vanilla. Not very gingery for a ginger ale. So, Ethan, I'm going to start with you. Which of the 4 courts would you like to define for us?
Let's go with exaltation.
Okay. What do you want as the symbol for our court of exaltation?
A sun.
Sun. I've got the caps lock on. All right. So our court of exaltation is the court of sun, the court of suns. I assume SUN.
Yeah.
Okay. And what 3 traits do you want to associate? I've got a list of tags there as an example, but you should feel free to come up with other ones.
I like these. There's a bunch of good ones. Um, dramatic. No, actually, unrestrained. That's a better
Okay.
word for it. Um, uh, to make come up with an interesting combination here.
Absolutely.
Unrestrained, playful, and vengeful.
Excellent. So we have our court of suns that is a joy. They go overboard, but and are open to play, but they're that dangerous kind of playful trickster that has a thorn at the center of the rose there. All right. Sherry.
Okay.
Which court? Yeah, it is a court full of cats. Which one of the remaining three do you wish to define?
How about dread?
Okay. And what is the symbol of the Court of Dread?
Ooh, interesting. I think mirrors.
Mirrors. Okay. And what three traits do you want to associate with the Court of Mirrors, our court of fear and of dread?
I think I think historians.
Okay.
Think it has to be bargaining.
Okay.
And I think that of all the courts, riddling. I think
Riddling.
that, yeah.
Interesting. Bargainers and riddlers, historians. Very, very interesting, dangerous combination here. We've got some things hidden away. Patrick, would you like to tell us about wrath or lamentation?
I think lament.
Okay. So our court of sadness, of lamentation, of grief. What would you like as their symbol?
I think lanterns.
Lanterns. Interesting. I like that. A light in the darkness. What would you like as the three traits for the Court of Lanterns?
Hmm. Think ritualist.
Okay.
Forgiving.
Ooh, interesting.
Paradoxical.
Ooh. Interesting. You've got some nice overlaps and contrasts. We've got riddling versus paradoxical. We've got vengeful versus forgiving. There's some interesting connections, lights there. Mirrors, lanterns, and suns. Tyler, last but not least, what do we want as the symbol for the court of wrath of anger?
Broken shackles.
Okay. And what traits do we want associated with this court?
Braggadocious.
Okay. Just me copy and pasting that because that word is hard to spell.
Paranoid.
Ooh.
And musical.
Excellent. I love it. What a great combination of things. Now we've got these courts, these have these symbols, the sort of pointing to the tarot deck kind of thing is deliberate. We will, over the course of things, also ritually be creating a major arcana that we'll be coming up with eventually. And there will be a higher arcana of people from the courts, and then a kind of a sub arcana of people who are outside the structure. And you may claim an office of that for yourselves as we go through. So that is the thing to be thinking about. So the undertow is a magical ocean that lies beside us. I've mentioned the shallows, the places that you can wade into, the places that you can kind of sail a little ways to get to these strange places that are out there, islands, shoals, reefs, coral, things like that. But then there's a deeper way, a deeper ocean that you cross and descend through to get to the lands that are out there beyond that. But it's all associated with water and water imagery, torrents and undertows and currents and all of that kind of thing. I'm going to start back. We're going to go back the other way here. Tyler, what do you think when someone has to enter into the undertow? Like, is it a classic, we mark a doorway, or do we have to have water present, or do we need like sand, or like what is a way in look like that maybe that we control, and then maybe that kind of weirdly occurs?
Now, is this the undertow like to the deeper areas, or is this
This is to
like
actually
to get to shallows as well?
to get to the shallows, like when you want to move from our world over into the realm of the undertow, into these waters and into the shallows that our yokai use to move around from time to time. What do we see there, do you think?
I think that there are a lot of different, the shape and style of them can be somewhat varied, but the one thing that is always true is they are tempting. They always look like they're welcoming, easy, something you want. It is a temptation.
So it might be an object, it might be a doorway, it might be a window, all of these things, any of these things can be a pathway through, but they have an energy, they have a draw,
Mm-hmm.
they have a current that pulls you towards them. Okay.
Right, that's perfect. I like that. Yes.
Yeah.
It's got that current, got that feel that makes you almost without conscious thought be drawn towards it.
And so I imagine when you yokai are like moving around trying to find an easy way in, you're trying to feel that pull, to get pulled along by that to find a way in. Excellent. The takers the ones who have been here, they have some signs, some markings, some effects, some things that we associate with them, sights, smells, sigils, colors, just something that in the visual lexicography that we're going to have in our world that we're going to associate with them. So, Patrick, what's one thing that is going to be a sign of the takers or the people that serve the takers or things like that?
No, I'll go very straightforward, because I do like rethinking about changeling stuff and taking away all that like hedge and plant and wild growth imagery and going with the ocean stuff. So, they are wet or accompanied by water in some way.
Yeah,
Maybe they're wet, maybe there's a mist that rolls in around them, maybe they make everyone around them sweat. Maybe they just leave wet footprints, even though they seem dry. Just they bring some aspect of the water with them.
absolutely. I love that. I love that. We're going to have, there'll be some element of that present in the scene that, or left over as evidence that will show that. Sherry, what's another sign of the takers?
I think I think that whenever there's a reflection, they can't help but stop to look at themselves.
Wet, accompanied by water, drawn to reflections. Even if it's just for a moment, they have to look at themselves, they have to see themselves. The high takers that are there, and then their children that come and come out on expeditions to steal people away. They have the same vulnerabilities. I like it. And Ethan, what's one last sign, effect, color, marking that we're going to have for our takers?
Um, like distorted sounds. We are all old enough to know this. You know how like an old audio tape gets that garbled sound like that.
Jerry and I both worked in TV. We know the sound of tapes that have been half erased and are played through and
Yeah, or if just been left in the heat too long, or
yeah,
like you wound it up and you twisted it a little bit and it's got that fold in it now. Yeah.
very nice. Very nice. Now the next thing that I would like to have us do is come up with what our city is going to be like. And before we kind of get to terms which decide our city, I'm going to have us each come up with one. But let me ask you this. Do we want present day? Do we want older? What do we want? Do we want, 2010s, 2000s, 90s, 80s? Anyone have strong feeling on that?
I would
Tyler,
rather
you
it's
seem to have
back.
feelings.
Yeah, I'd rather it be back a bit. I don't. I just completely contemporary. I'd rather us be able to have some touchstones of the past and kind of an idea of where history and time is going to take us.
Okay.
What is back a bit to you mean?
I would be happy with 80s or 90s, but that's up to other folks. Yeah, I'm willing to, I don't want to put my stamp totally on it, but I like the image of the 80s and 90s kind of they're very different, but they both have cool feels. But I want to take us a little out of cell phone range.
Okay.
That would be 80s, 90s is when they were popping up.
Mm.
Not like they are today, but there were still people had the bag phones.
In
and
those
stuff.
early 2000s where they aren't ubiquitous and they're certainly not the supercomputer in your pocket.
Let me make a suggestion. I would like to suggest, given what you said, I would like it to be 1999, because that has the future looming on the event horizon. We've got people kind of using the internet in the most beginning basic way. Some people have cell phones and Bluetooths and things like that, but it's still like you've got to have the money and you got to have a place. It is not entirely ubiquitous. It's still, when you see somebody talking to themselves, you're still going, are they schizophrenic? That's their first thought, rather than, oh, they must be on the phone. Does that seem like a reasonable thing? If people are comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So 1999. Are we good with America? Okay. Any thoughts on, Tyler said this 1999 America, any thoughts on where we are? What size or place? Are we in the Midwest? Are we in the South?
I feel like we've got to be coastal, or at least like a major body of water
Okay.
around.
So Gulf Coast, Pacific, Atlantic.
I was thinking Gulf Coast was going to be my suggestion.
Okay.
Just because we don't see a lot of stuff there except for New Orleans. So my suggestion is Gulf Coast, not New Orleans.
Okay.
It's just a region of the country that, like, you don't see a ton of fiction set there, but we all kind of know what it's like, I think. So
let's take a look.
I know what Tampa's like. That's what I know.
That's, yeah.
There's Miami,
Southern Alabama.
There's Miami.
Yeah.
There's Mobile.
Mobile was,
There's,
or
was
like
what you were thinking.
Pensacola.
If we went Texas, there's of course somewhere like San Antonio is close to the coast.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Galveston.
Galveston. Tallahassee.
Yeah.
Let me look here. Boy, Alabama's touch to the coast is real limited, isn't it?
It
Holy
is
cow.
very tiny.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty much Mobile is their city.
Yeah.
Florida's very grabby.
Yeah.
Sherry, your thoughts?
Only
Kind of
place I know of that is Tampa, but I like the idea of Alabama in the sense of they just have just this barely little bit of coast there, and that's like all of it. That's kind of an interesting thing of this sort of thing of that there's some kind of weird border issue, if that makes any sense.
And Mobile's an old city for America. A lot of history to it, and at one time was greater than it certainly is now, but still a pretty big port.
Yeah, it's very industrial, but it's also, it's like a Rust Belt city that's just moved south.
It is not that much larger in terms of population, Sherry, than South Bend, Mishawaka, and Elkhart, like combined. Because its population today is 180,000.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So let's go with Mobile. So 1999, Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah,
Now,
it kind of looks sort of like it's got like, a couple high rises.
Yeah, a lot of interesting water. Looks like we got the Alabama. That's where the Alabama's at. Nice state park right across the way, it looks like. Yeah, we will do that. Now, since this is taking place in the South, I want to tell you now, I am not going to do a Southern accent because it would be ludicrous.
Well,
It
I
would be,
can't help it.
yeah, I know.
And but yours is, authentic ludicrous. So
Yes.
it's okay.
So Mobile, Alabama. So I'd like us to come up with each with a term which describes our particular version of Mobile, Alabama. Like upscale, like high weirdness, like cryptids, fog laden, just a descriptor that we're going to have in the background. Tyler, I'm going to have you give me like just a term that we're going to keep in mind for our visual palette.
I'm gonna pitch something, and I think that it kind of plays to the game, but it is kind of a touchy thing. So I'm pitching it, and if people don't like the concept of it, that's fine. But segregated in both class, race, it's a place that has immigrants, it has long-standing racial problems, and we are a people that have suffered in some ways as well, in a not the same, but in a there's a correlation. What do folks think of that as a part of this city?
I think it's hard to escape from it given the
Yeah.
setting.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we could avoid it if we wanted to.
So segregated, meaning that we're going to see enclaves of people, ethnic, cultural, class, racial, that there are going to be places that are associated with groups. It may mean too, when we define our courts, that those courts may be embedded in particular enclaves that may make a difference in terms of how they're approached and so on. I like that. I think that's an interesting idea. Patrick, what's another term we want to have here?
So I have an idea, and I don't quite know how to bring it down to a term. But I grew up with a lot of my family in Birmingham and went to Alabama a lot. And Birmingham specifically, I don't know if this is true of Mobile, but whatever. But Birmingham specifically is a very like mining and refining and iron and steel town.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have a statue to the god Vulcan on the top of a strip mined out like mountain in the middle of the city. And so I like that motif as like the earth and the fire and the metal as a very like opposite thing from the water and the
Okay.
ocean themes. So I don't know, like mined or like smokestacks or
Uh,
Oh, that's an interesting point that Ethan brings up, is all of the oil rigs and the kind of smoke that would be coming off of refineries that are in the area too.
maybe just industrial.
yeah, how about industrial smoke of the earth?
Yeah.
Well, industrial and military,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because
But
we're
like
only a few
maybe
years out
there's good.
from the naval station. I mean, that's like it's 15 years since the U.S. naval station Mobile was established. So,
So
yeah.
strong
But yeah, like
industrial, yeah.
maybe there's something in that that's protecting us from the takers and their watery world.
And it may say something about the other supernaturals or threats that we come up with for the city, maybe associated with that too. Sherry, what's another term or trait that we want to associate?
So I was looking at Mobile, and in the closest significant event that occurred in Mobile, according to the internet, near 1999, was in fact Sammy's versus the City of Mobile strip club related lawsuit decided. So I think think
Where
there's
are you
a-
going with this?
I'm so curious.
It just strikes me as this is a place where like the people who live in this city are trying to have a voice about the city, because that isn't always who does. Like suburbanites and the wealthy get to say what the laws are, and it's a pushback, time of pushback.
So local pushback against certain kinds of conservatism, certain kinds of implications from on high. There is local activity, that kind of thing.
Yes,
Okay.
like
Is it like activism, or is it like the shifting of the society?
Yeah, like social flux.
I think that it's like I mean, you could say social flux. I think if that makes any sense. It
Like
is.
just changing attitude.
Yeah, exactly. That. Yes.
Okay.
And locals taking things into their own hands versus, people pushing down. Okay.
Okay.
And Ethan, what's one last term we want to use to set some stage here?
This is kind of along the same lines as Jerry's, and like I don't really, I can't think of a word for it.
Sure.
To make it specific, but not lawless. That's too far. But like less controlled, because like this is a place that's declining, that has conflict between like the city itself and its surrounding areas and influences from various places, and it's easy to lose track of people. It's easy for people to fall through the cracks. People could be murdered and no one, not only is there no investigation and never solved, nobody even knows about it. Like a lot of empty buildings, just like the opposite of constant surveillance.
Okay.
If that, I cannot think of what a word for that.
Like
What's the
social
opposite of
decay, or
surveillance?
under policed, or
Maybe unresponsive authority or something like that. Or even uncaring authority.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Like,
do you think it's off of corruption, or is it more
No
of a
funding
fund
or
yeah,
lack
no
of
fun-
funding.
yeah, maybe just, yeah, that might be.
Uncaring / clueless authority. So
Like things could go on that like, yeah, the cops have no idea about. Nobody, in fact, like a lot of the people living there have no idea about. There's
lack
just
of
like
funding,
layers.
lots of lack of communication between different departments. Like
Which
there's
it helps.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly. Like,
we're 1999, and while places are communicating more, this is one of those places where they aren't, and people are territorial about, this particular part of the city, this precinct versus this precinct, and things fall into the cracks.
and the internet exists, but there's not social media with video. So like that, reduces the information sharing a lot.
and Alabama is not a wealthy state.
Right.
No.
The police department might be on a BBS at this point.
Yeah, I really like that term though, falling through the cracks, that idea of that there are cracks, there are no safety nets, or if the safety nets are not for everyone.
Yeah, like for good and bad. There's
For
just
good and bad, there's lots of forest places.
Cracks to fall through. We'll also add that in there. All right. So there are other threats. There are things that are in this city. And I have a sample list down there. There are 2 columns, column A and column B. And I would like each person to choose one thing from column A and associate it with the thing from column B.
Oh,
Now,
whoa.
feel free to add elements that aren't listed on that, because there's probably 100 other things that could have been on there. Ethan, what is another threat that exists in the city, and another magical group or another threat, something that is also present here?
Territorial ghosts.
Territorial ghosts. Old city, ghost haunted, something that rise of the millennium has made them more and more present and powerful. We have these wraiths, these revenants and things like that, but they are highly territorial. You know, keeping their areas secured from other spirits, from ghost hunters, from other magical things. I dig it. So territorial ghosts is our first one. Sherry.
Hmm. Wow. How about scavenger goblins?
Yeah.
Scavenger goblins. So we have our hobs that live in this area, you know, that have they're old Appalachian goblins that moved down here following industry and things like that, and settled in this area. They're the old goblins of Appalachia, who came down here, and they are scavengers at those margins, at those cracks that people fall through. Patrick, what is another one of these threats or magical groups?
Oh no, I'm so torn between several. Go to Tyler. Maybe he'll do something that'll help me choose.
Tyler?
I'm rolling a die to set them.
Oh no.
OSR!
Yep. So I'm rolling my D20 through 6. My first roll, I did a tester, but my first roll, 17. So let's see what 2, 4, 10. That's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Underground.
Okay.
This is helping.
22. So up 4. 2, 1. Witches.
Underground witches. Do we think they are literally underground? Or do we think that there's an underground network of witches?
They're literally underground. They're also going to be underwater, given the
Well,
mobile is.
I think sewer would. No, we don't have sewer on there, but it would have been sewer witches if
Okay.
it was
Oh, that's
literally
nice. Yeah.
Okay, sewer
I think-
witches.
I think since that wasn't there, I think
Okay.
that it's underground networks. It's these hidden witches.
So there's a network of witches of you know, and witches and warlocks within this city that have their own power network and control. Not voodoo, but you know, old classic mixed bag.
Yeah, probably
Wiccans.
a huge amount of traditions because you know, a lot of influences here.
Yeah, probably different. Probably that's why it's a network, is because they are you know, creating a web of those. So
Mhm.
territorial ghosts, scavenger goblins, underground witches, Patrick,
Exploitative immortals.
exploitative immortals. So we have our ivory tower up in the boardroom, wealthy
Yeah.
old money.
It's very in that industrial. Yeah, they've moved into all of the narrow power and money positions in the city long ago.
Some of them jaded, some of them less jaded. Yeah, well, that's a very interesting idea. I think we'll hold off on the unique places for a city. We'll save that for maybe session one. We'll talk about some places and things. What I want to do is have us take our first break here. We'll take 10, and then we'll come back and we'll talk playbooks and courts, and we'll set you to that, and we'll do that whole process. So let's take 10, and then we'll come back. But I'll talk. I'm back. We're back from the break. But I'll make a list of kind of the things that I am curious about that we'll talk. And we may make modifications to the system as we go along. Some of you have played the earlier versions of this Changing the Lost thing. There are some things I'm still uncertain about, and of course, I've made a lot of changes to moves to try and make them. I went through every move, and I went, would I take this move? And tried to fix it until it was a move that I would take if I were a player. Some of them I don't think are perfect in that regard, but I really tried to do that. So I've talked a bit now. Jerry constructed. Tyler is doing our unmade. Patrick, you're doing the beloved. Ethan, between the fearing and the wilding now.
Yeah.
And you will get access to moves from other playbooks
Okay.
as advances.
Cool. I think I'll take Wilding then because yeah, that's the main reason I was thinking fearing. There's some really good moves in there.
Yeah.
But I don't really have like a good concept for the character, and I have more of an concrete idea for Wild. So
yeah, as advances, you'll get advances from your own playbook, but also potential advances from other playbooks. Patrick, it looked like you had a question there.
I did, and then I looked at the character keeper more, and it answered itself.
Okay, there we go. So there at the bottom of the character creation tab is a list of the things to do. I'm going to let you basically direct your playbook, choose your court, give a what kind of wilding or constructed, what name you want to call them, assign your numbers to your moods, and picked 2 moves. And I'm gonna let people go on that. And then we'll do introductions, and we'll talk about those background questions as well.
I do have a question for everyone.
Sure.
On sort of a start at naming conventions. Do you think the more common term is like the Court of Wrath or the Court of Broken Shackles? Is it the Court of Lament or the Court of Lanterns?
The Court of Lanterns.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we will call those. There is an emotion associated with them, but we're going to call them by their suits. And in fact, I'm going to go through and make changes to all of that, so that that all looks that way.
Thank you.
Okay. And now, so that Rich won't watch this, but if he did, I am going to pause the recording so that that we don't sit here on quiet audio. So before we get too much further, and we have our characters introduce each other, introduce themselves, not each other. Why would I say each other? Introduce themselves to each other. Let's talk our lines and veils. We have hard lines on torture by PCs. We have veils on dental horror, eye injuries, harm to animals, sexual content, and suicide. Those are all things that will be kind of fade to black. Somebody did add something in, but didn't mark a box by it there at the bottom. Just to note that. And then we have an ask first, for sexual content there as well. And everybody's we'll check in with romance stuff. We've got some positive answers across the board on that. So Sherry, we're starting with your character. You are going to give us.
I asked for it. I took the first
You
column.
did take
so
the first column.
exactly.
First chair, character
First
maker.
chair. Yes.
So introduce your character, their pronouns,
Okay.
court, and tell us about them.
Okay, so my character's name is Lily Smythe Soot. And that is her name. That is the name that she has. She knows that's her name. She doesn't know how she knows it's her name. She just knows it is. She chose and was chosen by the Court of Suns. She is good at the joy part, but she's not very good at the vengeful part. But she's working on it. She is infinitely capable. She's constructed, and her kind is called soot cast. She is a soul poured into a mold of soot. And so she is made of sort of fire and molten soul. At least that's her sense of it. That's what she was told. That's what she thinks she remembers seeing. The place that she was in came from was called the Foundry of Infinitesimal Progress. They put E's at the end of words for no particular reason. Don't know why. It was to suggest, I think, that it was a sort of literary sense of progress. Anyway, and the thing that she remembers above all other things is applause.
Interesting. So, of your memory of the real world, do you have any, or is it completely gone, or what is it that you have of that?
She does remember the TV set from her childhood home because it was big and black and white for the first years. Like it was like a really old one that kept on working. And she remembers the knobs, that they were that weird 1960s plastic kind of thing. And she remembers it like just little pictures and bits of things like those Tupperware glasses that were in pink and green and yellow, those, but she doesn't remember the people in her house.
And of your time in the foundry, what do you recall about that? About what you did, about what was done to you, about who else was there?
I remember starting over and over again, if that makes any sense. Like I would get poured over and over. So, and it was usually the same shape, but not always. But this is the shape that I escaped with.
Was that a tempering? Was that just changing for change's sake or something else?
It was supposed to be for a purpose, but when she would get melted, she would forget what the purpose was.
And what is that memory that you hang on to?
The applause?
Yeah. What is it, just applause, or is it?
It's being it's like looking out into the darkness and hearing applause, but she thinks that maybe it was on stage.
Okay. What did you take for your moves?
Okay, so I took Dark Mentor. And this is, I have a special relationship with a mentor. And essentially I could say how they present themselves to me. I'm thinking that this is actually sort of my mentor from the Court of Suns. They are what is the pledged.
Mhm.
They are pledged who is supposed to be a teacher and a mentor. That's like what they're supposed to be good at. They can mentor anyone. There are protocols, there are ways to lead people to making themselves what they want to be, what they should be, and those sorts of things. They are very grumpy. I haven't named them yet. I will do that
Okay.
shortly. But essentially, I study with them, and I am trying to figure out what I used to be good at so I can be good at it again. I think that it was something like some sort of performance because I heard applause. And I am infinitely capable, I tell myself. And I also took Head Full of Ghosts. Once per session, when I need to use another's talents buried in my memories, I roll. On a D10, I hold 2, and I can spend my hold 1 for 1 to use a move from another playbook just this once. Once I've done it, I can never do it again. And that's about being poured into those different molds as much as anything. So.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'm gonna screen share so we get the HD version of this. There. What? Let me think how I want to say this. How do you dress?
I think she dresses like a theater major,
Okay.
like an undergrad. I think she dresses with an eye to being noticed, to being unique, to it being something she found in a in a thrift store that she could afford, that sort of thing. It was very, very eclectic, very different, vintage mixed with like just the most recent discards in some ways.
Okay. And how old do you appear?
She appears to be early 20s.
Okay. So college age passed
Mhm.
as. Okay. All right. I think that gives us a good sense of who you are. We're going to come back and talk about your romantic entanglement, general entanglement, and your rival.
Okay.
Okay. There is a page that has rivals and entanglements that has examples and all that stuff. Okay.
Ooh, and NPCs? Oh no, you haven't actually set any out yet.
No, we'll figure them out.
Oh my gosh.
Did not want to poison the well.
All right.
So there we go. Okay, I'm going to stop screen sharing. All right. Next up is Tyler.
All right. I am playing the Unmade. My kind is the Remnant. And my name is Marrow. But deep inside of me, and that I don't give up to anyone, is I am Tom Jennings. There was a boy, and his name was Tom Jennings. But I tell no one that name. I am in the court of broken shackles. I am in sorrow's court. No, not broken shackles. Hang on. Lanterns. There we go.
Lanterns.
Names got changed somehow.
Sure.
I must have clicked it wrong. Yes, Court of Lanterns. I'm in sorrow. My stats, I have a -1 in joy, a 0 in anger, a +1 in fear, a +2 in sorrow, a +1 in calm, and a 0 in power. My picture shows that's by what mortals see, a very pretty goth boy. But kind of he's too still. Especially if he's not concentrating on trying to look more natural, even in his, supposed be able to pass. If he's thinking about something or he doesn't believe anyone's watching, he goes eerily static, just like not moving, almost like he's a picture.
And that's the face that we see. What does his persona look like?
Well, you have some interesting things for the unmade. And Marrow is called Marrow because they took his skin, they took his muscle, eventually they took his bones, and all that remains is the marrow, the last bits of him. And I think that I don't want to do anything that does a mechanical sort of effect, but I think that he's mostly a voice. And if people are looking for him, they see kind of this wispy, almost an outline of a body. You can see kind of the marrow beneath.
But we can
But
kind of
a lot
see like where the rest of the body ought to be. We can
ought
kind
to
of see.
be. And a lot of his, like, if he's moving somewhere, he more goes, stops and becomes. I don't want that, there's an advantagey feel to that, but that's not it. I think people obviously can see him in both, nothing mechanical to it. But he's like almost not real if no one's paying attention to him.
Okay.
And you hear him, he's very soft-spoken. I have taken the, let's see, where I was taken from, a happy home where he was loved. His memory of what that is almost certainly idealized. If you were to ask him, it was a beautiful green yard, and there was a treehouse in the back, and a picket fence, and a lovely 2-story colonial, and it was a perfect place with parents who loved and cared about him. He doesn't really have a clear memory of that. He was taken fairly young. I think he was taken quite young. We don't have a thing on harm to children, so I think he was probably snatched up like right around 12, 13, maybe, 11, very young. And was, yes?
So let me ask you this. Went willingly, was taken, was fooled?
He was led. It was this enticement, this sort of down the primrose path, something, one of them called and promised wonderful things and sights so beautiful, and he was called and he followed down the wrong path. And was taken originally to a place called His Most Pleasurable Gardens, where he and youngsters like him played and delighted, and there was this kind of patriarchal or parentally figure that would look down on them, sometimes judge them, but enjoy the laughter and all of that. But Marrow was always a bit of he wasn't by temperament as chipper, happy. It didn't ring true, and eventually he was sent along. And I think he moved through several realms as parts of him were taken.
Hmm.
And as he grew older, and I don't know if bitter's the right word as much as scared and so filled with grief at what he couldn't quite remember,
Okay.
until finally he was left just this final core of his being in a place that was called the Black Box. He did not know who the taker was that ruled it, but knew something kept him going. He would meet others as you travel through the Black Box, but it is empty and featureless. And everyone in it was lost when you found that they didn't know where to go.
Did you just kind of wander out of the black box and back into the world, or did you escape?
I think escape seems to give him more credit.
Okay.
He wouldn't take that credit, but he did keep listening as he met people, always asking if there was something different, anything different. And he kept following in the pointed direction of anything he heard that was different, until one day he found the corner of the box, and there was a crack.
Excellent.
I
And
think he's originally from 1982.
okay. And uh what moves did you take?
I have taken the Call to the Ocean, which is a summoned creature from the other world. Does just cool, amazing things. I don't know, kind of its Patrick. It was the first move on the sheet, and it immediately made me say, okay, I'm starting to see what this person is like
Okay.
from it. And then I took Cobbler, which is another of the kind of summoning, but it's items and things that I reach into dream are the substance of the undertow to extract or create an item and bring it into the real world. And it has potential for being potent or lasting a good bit, or even with an amazing roll, making something true, or finding something truly magical.
Excellent. I think that gives us a good sense. We'll come back to you, talk about entanglements and your arrival. That brings us to our wilding. Ethan?
Yeah, so I haven't figured out all of these things, but playing Aldo Underwood, Horde of Lanterns. I think that may change. Who is occasionally takes the form of a coyote, which is both great in that, like, it's good for sneaking around, and not so great in that coyotes are invasive species that people are allowed to shoot. So it's not really the, like, there are animals you could turn into and it would be safer.
Okay.
This isn't one of them. They were taken.
Let me ask you this, though. In your persona, are you kind of like a coyote person appearing, do you think?
No, I think it goes straight from person to coyote.
Okay.
Without any in between. One of the moves I took was transformation.
Okay.
The full transformation. let's see, taken from a burning forest. I think that they're from somewhere very rural. And they were like from a farm. And at some point they were out in the woods and either started a fire that got out of hand, or someone else started a fire that got out of hand, and were trapped. And whatever offer they were made, they could not refuse, because like it was that or burn to death.
And what kind of place were you taken to?
Well, if they turn him into an animal, I think it was like an otherworldly being's idea of a game preserve.
Okay.
And specifically a game preserve where like hunting for sport was like the purpose of this place. So not what is it? It's not preserve. That's not the word I'm looking for. I don't remember. Anyway.
Yeah, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Where you have gamekeepers and they're keeping
Game
them.
preserve?
Right.
A game preserve?
Is that what they're called? I don't remember.
I think actually game preserve is for hunting.
Okay, yeah. Then yeah, like not quite captive, but also captive because the areas that they could be is limited. And yeah, the animals there were hunted. And with limited places, it's not so much they could escape, but they could hide. So like it basically enough area to provide a fun challenge for the hunters, but not enough area to escape.
And like how did it come that you became a coyote, or as my relatives in Kansas say, a coyote?
Coyote, yeah. I think that was the first, like that was the other animal that was caught in that fire. So that kind of gave whoever did that transformation the inspiration, like, oh, I'm just going to turn you into the other creature that I found you with.
Excellent. And you have the transformation. And what is your other move?
My neighborhood. You have an area established where you're known. And I'm going to escape. And
okay.
Yeah, it's just connections to the locals there.
One of the things we'll talk about, probably do this next time, is we'll have the group will have a den, a lodge, a haven that you share, and we'll let you kind of define what that neighborhood is around that place.
Okay.
Do you have a sense of what you want their age or physical features or look, and gender for sort of the face?
Right, I was going to pick that when I found a picture, but I didn't.
Okay, well, no, if you don't pick it, let's leave that malleable until you find a pick, and you can decide then there. Awesome. We'll come back to you to talk about entanglements and arrival in a moment. And that brings us to our beloved.
Yes, so I am playing Mr. Suit. He I mean, definitely has a real name under there somewhere, and I will figure it out, but I'm going to take more time with that because I haven't gotten there yet. But his kind that I went with was Pseudoface, or Visage de Guerre, I think is the term his taker used a lot. He was taken from, and again, I will fill this in more later, but as an idea that I really liked, a boat in a hurricane.
Hmm.
And he was taken to the Abyssal Masquerade. The Duke of Lures is his taker, and the Duke of Lures is like an impossibly large, impossibly deep, tentacled, mysterious, unknown in the darkness and the depths of the ocean sort of being. And he took I think they took Mr. Suit and many others as uh, a face to wear in the real world, a diving suit to protect them and enable that transition from one world into another, to walk around more freely and maybe hide some of the tells and emanations that a taker, especially like a great ancient huge one like the Duke, would set off in the world. And also a whole sort of under ocean closet full of different options, different styles, different faces, different people to walk around this time into a certain crowd or a certain situation, or to give off, or just to look perfect in the outfit that they found that they want to show off, sort of thing. They are refined and a bit effete in their mannerisms, the sort of like ancient unknowable monstrosity that would be wearing a top hat and a monocle. Um, and so Mr. Suit's time durance sort of torture was the going back and forth between being in the lightless depths of the abyss in storage and interminable waiting, and then being taken and like invaded, lots of weird tentacle body horror, into out of sort of thing, taken over and blanked out for the times that he would be on Earth in the real world, but coming back to in horrible situations, coming out of disasters, or covered in blood, or just with these like coursing with emotions that he doesn't know where they came from, losing all this time. And the other side of it, I think, is that as he's escaped and come back to the real world, there have been situations and people where he is recognized or known by people that he doesn't know, that he is hated for things he can't remember, or owed favors that he doesn't know why he would have earned them. Someone else was living a life with his body while he was blacked out and gone. And then once it's all over and he's, woken up from whatever strange nightmare situation he finds himself in, it's to be taken back down to the depths and, cleaned from the inside out, to be ironed and pressed and resewn and put back together and then back into storage.
And how did he escape? Was he cast off? Did the suit split? Did he just wake up? Like what happened?
I don't think he knows, at least right now, how, but when. It was in the eye of a hurricane as it was passing and the storm wall was just about to hit him. He was suddenly back. He was in the real world and would very much like to believe that he engineered his own escape, and it was in fact an escape.
Excellent. And what did you take for your moves?
So I took as my first move, follow the threads, which is very similar to Marrow's call to the ocean move. It is a summoning, calling things over into this world. But I think given his kind and his durance and what he is, it is like as a almost as like a medium or like a voodoo sort of horse idea. He is calling things into his body. The things that they do or the magics that they work are through him.
Okay.
And if they don't go or if they fight, it's it's in him, it's wearing him, that they would be sticking around in.
And your other move?
My other move is observant. When you have a first encounter with someone politically important, roll, and I might know secrets or have connections to them. I think that is all that lost time and those connections that he doesn't understand with powerful or dangerous people.
Okay. The question that's in the playbook that I'll ask you is, how is it, like, what do you do to reclaim control over yourself? Like, what is that, how does that manifest?
So it will certainly be a stretch for Patrick, who is a very, we'll go a sedentary person. But I think what he does to try and reconnect is like physically through his own body, feeling the weight and pain and sort of embodiment. So he does like really long form or like extreme exercises. Like he will run for hours at a time or go out and I think he especially likes swimming in the ocean,
Okay.
because that is a bit of like reclaiming the dangerous territory feel. But it is that pushing his body to its limits and past, and that sort of like physical high, that like change in mind state where you just exist in the deepest and most visceral and physical parts of your body. He feels that anchor and connection holding him in place, and both parts of himself and his body, are the same for a while.
Nice. Nice. I like that very much. We're going to come back and talk entanglements and rivals here in a moment. Sherry,
Yes.
I'm going to come back to you.
All right.
Would you like to define a general or a romantic entanglement first? And you're going to have these, as with classic entanglements, we've got 4 slots. I would like one of them to be with another PC. But otherwise you can come up with whoever you want. We've got a list of names from that list there, but you're also welcome to come up with names. But any names you're going to give me for a yokai, or you're going to tell me which court they're in.
Okay, so let's see. One thing that I have done is I've established who my rival is.
Okay, well, tell us who your rival is.
Okay, so my rival is Dandymane. She's also of the Court of Suns. She is the treasure of Sun's treasure held. And so essentially one of the things that she did is I was shopping at the scavengers market and I saw a locket that I recognized and I knew it was significant to me somehow in the past, and she snatched it right out from under me and sort of like immediately, because she had credit with the hobs, I mean with the goblins, she was just able to get it. I couldn't even bargain or, essentially like that. And she clearly, after that, because I was so furious, she delights in following me around and snatching things before I can get them. She's sort of and I have a picture of her on the NPCs thing.
Mm-hmm.
She's like a two-faced person with like sort of very long hair that's tucked up in a high hat. But she has like two sets of arms. She's like two people that have been merged in a very certain way.
Oof.
And they clearly are both malicious as far as I'm concerned.
As far as you're concerned. I like it.
Okay.
Which of the two entanglements do you want to do?
Oh gosh. My first entanglement. Let's see here. I'm gonna look for let's see here. Oh gosh, all of these are so like okay, so I'm gonna pick one that goes with some of the other ones. Let's see here. I think I think that the one that I rejected someone and now they've come down hard on me and my friend. I kind of think that the best friend a girl could have in this day and time would be a big puppy.
Okay.
So Aldo, I think, Aldo, do you want to be my partner in being persecuted by someone that I caused some trouble to?
Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
good.
All right.
And
I will pick out someone
okay, yeah,
dastardly.
well,
Okay.
right now.
Oh gosh. Okay, so I just
Yeah.
got to go find an NPC name. Sorry.
I have a sample list there.
I know they're awesome. Let's go here. Okay, we are both very wary of Semolina Pilchard.
Okay.
Sounds like a person to be wary of.
Yeah.
I know they have the power of a pop song behind them, right? So
and what court is Semolina Pilchard with?
let's see. Oh gosh, I like the idea that she's with sons because vengeful is the way we are, and we're practically.
Okay.
And the whole thing about sons is they're all like really awful to each other as much as anything else. Even the parties are super fun.
So we'll put that. I'll just put that name there on that third spot.
Okay. And I inadvertently dragged Aldo into this.
Okay. So put that in your thing so we
I'm
remember
working
that.
on it.
Okay.
Yes.
Marrow. Which of your entanglements do you want to start with?
All right. Oh, so many awesome things. Okay. I'm going to start with, I think, my general.
Okay.
That break it over. And general entanglement. My friend, and I have to use him because I absolutely adore him, Abyssinian Max.
Okay.
Oops, no, that's the wrong thing though. That's slightly. Give me 2 seconds. My friend Abyssinian Max hates. Anybody feel like being hated by Abyssinian Max?
I
So
would
they
be
won't
cool
tell me
with it.
why. Okay. And they won't tell me why. So that's my general.
And what court is Abyssinian Max with?
I think with the court of Sons.
Court of Sons. Okay. Put
All
that-
my worst enemies are its sons.
Uh,
Thank you. Thank you, Tyler.
excellent. And broken shackles. And the last court,
Lanterns.
lanterns. Thank you. Aldo, would you like to do your general or your romantic?
I think I will do general. Has one of you asked me to protect someone?
I'd be up for it if no one else wants it.
Okay, that'll work. Yeah, okay. So Marrow has asked me to protect Songbird Rex.
Okay.
Where was I? Who would be offended if they knew I was protecting them.
Excellent. And what court is Songbird Rex going to be from?
Let's see here. Mirrors.
Mirrors. Okay. Excellent. And then Mr. Suit.
I will throw out there, does anybody feel drawn to the underground witches?
I might know some of them.
Yes. I think my general entanglement, I'm gonna go with I learned my friend Aldo has been spending, or no, that's not the right one. Where is it? Oh no. I've discovered Aldo has been hanging out with Curia Vervain, an enemy supernatural.
Ooh. Type that name in the chat.
Yes.
And Curia Vervain is one of these underground witches. Okay.
Yes.
Cool, cool.
Okay. Vervain. Excellent. And of course, in between now and next time, everyone is welcome to find pictures for various people. And we'll figure out other details. Sherry, I'm going to swing back to you. And again, romantic can be crushes, can be unrequited, can be strong friendships. It's things with a more emotional weight and connection to them.
Hmm. let's see here. There's so many good ones here, and yet they're so like. I promised X I would aid them in getting with Black, but in doing so, I've fallen in love with one of them. So I think that's a really good one. Do any of my fellow PCs have someone that they are interested in getting with? Among the NPCs or vice versa. Because I would love to put one of you guys in. Tyler, have you got designs on anyone?
Yeah, I'm looking at my romantic. I do have someone who, my entanglement will end up being someone who I'm in pursuit of, sort of.
Okay. If we can,
So
yeah,
So why don't we
feel free
do Tyler's first,
okay.
and then we'll come back. We'll step back to you.
now
Tyler,
see,
Tyler, do you want
the-
Max in Suns or Shackles?
I want to be in Sons.
Okay. Okay, somebody put him in Shackles.
Oh yeah, he's in Sons. He's in Joy.
Okay.
See, but now I was gonna have Sherry have to pick the name. Now I have to pick a name.
Yes.
Well,
So
if
tell us
you'd
about
like-
this romantic.
Okay, I love and I'm open for any one of them.
I mean, they're a bunch of great names. That's the
They
thing.
are. I'm gonna just go with Nameless.
Okay. But not Nameless Muscles.
Not Nameless Muscles.
You couldn't get nameless muscles.
All right.
So that's the one who I love, who I overlooked for too long, and now they're with, and I'm gonna have another NPC of
Okay.
that. So let's go with has anybody used Regal Doe yet?
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Let's do Regal Doe. That's a
Okay. And what courts are they in?
I think Nameless. I think he's with me in Lanterns.
Okay.
And I think that Regal Doe is in. Let's go with Shackles.
Okay. Okay. So I've got those in their respective court columns. I am going to go through and do what Rich did with the being able to close and labeling them along the side, but I haven't done that with this yet. And so
All right, then.
Sherry,
Tyler, would it be okay that I've sort of fallen in love with Amaro because he's so sincere about this and his troubles? And I spend all this time talking with you about what you could do and all of these things, and I've just come to really like what a nice
Absolutely.
person you are. What a good, yeah.
okay. Excellent. Aldo, what would you like to do for your romantic?
So I think I saved someone who I desperately love, but blank took credit. And I think Semolina Pilchard took credit because that seems to be her thing.
Okay.
um,
Who'd you save?
let's see, should this be in let's add another character to this.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Names. Some good ones. Ali Doges.
Okay. And what court is Allie with?
Broken Shackles.
Broken shackles. Okay, I'll put them below doe there. Excellent. And we'll figure out like exactly what they look like and all that stuff between now and next time. And Patrick, what do you want for your rival for Mr. Sorry, your romantic for Mr. Suit?
Let's see. Go with I ran into where'd it go? I ran into Relentless Third while in a disguise and fell in love with them. But they think I was Marrow.
Okay. Is that okay with you, Tyler?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was terribly self-involved. What was it, Patrick?
I ran into Relentless Third while in disguise and fell in love with them, but they think I was Marrow, you.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, sure.
Okay. And what court is Relentless Third from?
Just looking at other ones right quick. I think Shackles, Broken Shackles.
Shackles. Okay. Put it below that. Okay. Sherry, you've got your rival. We know that. Marrow, who is your rival? Got that little walk across chart. You can come up, take somebody we already have or someone new. Are you thinking, Tyler?
No, I was looking at pictures. Am I supposed to be picking a rival?
Yes.
All right.
That's okay. I skipped over Sherry, so I figured I'd kind
Oh,
of throw
I
it
gotcha.
offside
Okay.
because she'd already done hers.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. Oh,
Right now, all we need is a name and a Y.
name and a Y. Let's go with let's do Wisdom Wales.
Okay.
And I had actually picked out what was the bad thing. Let me find it again real quick.
Sure.
Lashed out at me for no reason.
Okay. And wisdom is in what court?
Let's do fear. What was it?
Fear is mirrors.
Mirrors then.
Okay. And for Aldo, who is your rival?
I had one and then where did it go? I was just looking at it. Oh, Saint Coils. Yeah.
Okay.
Who holds weird sway over a gang of goblins who have it out for me.
Oh, nice.
Had to get the goblins in there somewhere.
Oh yeah. What court is Saint Coils in?
Sons.
Sons. A lot of assholes and sons.
We're the best.
They're happy assholes, but
Yeah. They're happy, vengeful assholes. And
the worst kind.
yeah. Last but not least, Mr. Suit.
What do we know about Abyssinian Max so far?
We know that Abyssinian Max is a pal to Marrow.
Do we know court or kind or anything?
No, I don't
Oh.
think so.
We picked his court.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we do know Court. We know he's sons. The only thing we need to know is like why right now. We'll figure out the courts and things like that, but why is Abyssinian Max your rival if you want to have him as your rival?
I do. He broke up an excellent party.
Okay.
It was the first, like, yokai-centric sort of, I'm trying to make political connections and be impressive in front of courts party that I had put together, and he ruined it. We'll figure out how sometime later.
Excellent. I like that. So this gives us a kind of picture. So between now and next time, you can, any of the characters you came up with, you can figure out like what their kind and kith are, and find us a picture for them. So you're all welcome to do that. Next time we're going to talk about where you all are going to be to start out. The other thing we're going to do, because we are playing a little bit of a longer term campaign, I am going to use that proactive role-playing thing about asking for some goals for your character, like a short-term and a long-term goal. I'll share that chart that I have with some examples of what that looks like. Goals are things which are concrete. They can be done. We can measure when they're done. We know when this has happened. I want to kill X. We know when that has happened. Or I want to play on Broadway, or whatever. Like those are concrete goals. They should be that we can measure them. And we should also there should be a consequence if you don't do them. Like what's going to happen if you don't, like what's the bad fallout for not doing this thing, for yourself, for other people, that kind of thing. So I'll send some notes about that, but those are the things I want us to be thinking about. And in the meantime, this week I'll be reading about Mobile. It's pronounced Mobile, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's going to be hard because I'm from the Midwest. So Mobile, Alabama, I'll be reading about that. We're not going to do Stars and Wishes tonight. We'll take that up. The other thing I'll do between this and next session is I will get a list of here are the things that I want for us to watch in terms of things to be thinking about in terms of play testing and development. Does that sound cool with everybody?
Yes.
Excellent. And we'll get to playing next time. So I am going to stop the recording.